It's very funny because the young lady who made that film actually cast my daughter and made the film while I was in India. And my husband used to take her to the sets in New York. And I had never met any of them and I didn't know. And I was actually she was much younger, and I said, I hope you're taking everything with you, and you know. And then I saw the film and it won the documentary, Best Social Documentary again for Manhattan Neighborhood Network, MNN. And then the director, she met me and she said, you know, can I request you, because we wanted to do certain aspects, you know, to add on to the film. And they added it on with me. So I never ever was in her first part. And they added me on to the second half, which they had screened in India. And so there were two films almost. There was Anamika with just her. Then they met me when I came and they decided this could be even a bigger thing of a older Dev Dasi kind of a, you know, aspect. And so then I was brought on almost 6 months later. So in fact, I have a standing joke. I said, you know, I think you shouldn't tell them of my existence. I seem to be honing into your territory unnecessarily. So that was a film we saw together, but we were never together. Of course, she was young, so I told her, I said, there's one thing that's bothering me in that film, you know. You worn a red plastic hair clip in your hair, you know, from F.A.O. Schwartz. They didn't wear it that time. I said, you walked into a temple. She said, but they didn't tell me. I mean, she was much younger. And I said, oh, that one scene really bothers me. And I said, because, you know, I like to see that all details are done. So that was, you know, I wasn't there. Hence that clip was there. Oh, acting, no. My first acting I think I did was Mahanagar, a serial I did with Shekhar Kapoor and Shriram Lagu in 1989. And in the early 80s I had got offers, and you know, I was in Delhi, I was performing a lot, dancing. Times were different then. My parents weren't particularly going to allow me to, you know, be in film, not for any other reason than, you know, my father was a banker, posted every 2 years to a new place. My brother was in IIT, my mother was in tourism at that time, and then a very strong homemaker and the backbone of the family. So she didn't really see me saying, you're going to what, go and act in Bombay and live where and what will happen to your education. And so, you know, the opportunity didn't really arise, nor was I trying to be in that. For me, my obsession was my dance. And then when I got the offer for the serial, I acted in it. But then, you know, if somebody comes and offers you something, then you do it. I didn't really follow that path. I wouldn't consider myself an actress to do any role. I would say anything that leans towards the cultural aspect, it comes naturally to me. If I had to do anything to do with Indian culture and classicism, I would. You know, I'm a good mimic. I do make fun of people, of, you know, sometimes of somebody, you know, comes in, and I used to always tell my daughter, I said, okay, so I'll enact for you who this person was. And so she used to always say, oh gosh, that's a funny imitation. So I used to say, you know, and talk like people do, you know, whether it's Americans or Indians or Europeans. So it's a fun thing to try and emulate somebody and show them. Absolutely not. I mean, it's, I'd even said no for a long time to help out with this movie, as in giving an opinion when I was first asked, you know, what do you think of the script and can you make changes? Because, you know, when a daughter is acting in a film and then you're in a different role, the same people are involved and you don't want to be in each other's space. Not that I couldn't work with my daughter, that's been easy, we've done many. But, you know, if you're in a different space and you have a conflict of opinion and somebody else, then you don't want to be really involved, you know. It's fairly difficult. But, you know, it has its strengths of being able to be on the sets and watch things critically. So I would say that it was an interesting experience, and I'm not sure, you know, I would put a blanket statement, but the early years, I mean, even with her first film, Griffin Dunn, the director, who had cast her for Accidental Husband, and she was 11th or 12th grader then, and maybe even a 10th grader, I forget. And so someone had to drop her to the sets. And again, I was in India and the date was changed, so actually someone from my husband's office used to drop her because we were not in the country. And she was in that film with Uma Thurman and Colin Firth. And she had to get a note from school to go and be on the sets. So, you know, even at that aspect, when we used to, she used to go for it. I remember Griffin Dunn, the director, met me and said, "Oh, I, you know, Googled you and loved your, you know, things you're doing and all. You know, we have one scene, it's about an Indian wedding, and, you know, so would you put together the production thing for it?" And I said, "No." I said, "Absolutely not." And he was like, and my daughter said, "Why?" I said, I just don't want to be, you know, initially in the same, you know, genre. And so they had gone then to Christie's and asked for one of their consultants to come and just do the mandap for it, you know, which is not a big deal. But I had kind of hesitated early on because already for years I had been training her and she had been, you know, performing, and it was my space. So somewhere I wanted where it was her world and it's not my world. And she's not known as, "Oh, are you Swati's daughter? Oh, you're a dancer. Or, you know, you're the mother dancer." So it's better, you know, that I'm delighted she's doing Hollywood, which I'm not doing as an actress. And I'm delighted she sings a cappella and jazz and whatever, which I don't do any of it. So I think it's very important, you know, to be together and yet have your own separate space and world, which is great for learning, it's great for expressing yourself, and it's great for knowing who you really are. You know, what is your passion? Am I good at math as a subject? Not at all. But I can look at a sheet and say when the number is off. I think that's also come from dance. I'm very, very good at understanding that there's something off, and I'm always certain about it. Where in fact people who are very good at math have said, no, the sheet is fine. I said, so overall, yes, I do, I'm able to grasp that. I'm fascinated with rhythmic aspects of numbers, where I can go into, you know, different divisions of the tal and different divisions. But am I interested in theorems and, you know, logarithms and doing trigonometry and all of that? Not at all. But both my children surprisingly are, and both enjoy it thoroughly.